Perfect.
My greatest fear, that if I lost control or did not have control, things would just
be,
it would be fatal.
oh yes I did, oh no she didn't, I'll do it again. Leave me alone for pretty. Hello. So, I'm doing another one. We're doing another one. Gosh. I can't be comfortable for this. What am I doing? Okay. So, for today, I wanted to talk about motivation. I wanted to talk about, how someone like me, like I do a lot of different stuff. I enjoy very much having a lot on my plate. And, a lot of people I feel like think you need to have like excessive amounts of like motivation. Like I feel like a lot of people think like you need to be like that all the time to keep up with everything. And I kind of wanted to share, how I handle that stuff and how I go about it, because I feel like there were certain ideas that were kind of instilled into me when I was pretty young. I was grateful enough to actually learn it early on, that I could actually implement it and apply it, sooner in life, and actually have that be something that's just more natural to me. So, I will say the term that I will tell people, or the term that was told to me was, motivation is an excuse. I add on to it by saying motivation is an excuse, and you need to stop waiting or you will miss your opportunities. And by that, pretty much the backstory of motivation is an excuse is, I had a coach one time, my kickboxing coach, he had told me when I was young, in my early teens and I was in martial arts, my kickboxing coach, he had told me, he had told me one time, because I believe I had said, I think he had asked me like, how did you feel like you did today? That's what he did. Very often he would, like, before the class or after the class, sometimes both, he would like ask you, he would check in and be like, what's going on? How you doing? I didn't have the motivation, I guess. That's probably what I said. And he had pretty much told me, like, motivation is an excuse. You don't need motivation to come to class and to come and train, or to go to school, or to go to work. Like, eventually, like, you have to kind of come to that realization that even if you really don't want to do some things, you do have to, like, to get to your goals and to get to where you want to be, maybe in your life, there's gonna be things along the way that you aren't gonna like, that is a part of becoming that person, so training all the time, while I love training and I always went all the time, even if there were days that you felt like, oh, I'm tired, like I don't really feel like going, I don't really want to like put my gym clothes on and like go and train, but you kind of have to like ignore that voice in your head that's saying that, because that is ultimately going to distract you from your goals. And but along the way, like, like I said, motivation is an excuse, and you need to stop waiting or you're gonna miss your opportunities. So it was definitely very important for me to be hardworking, and it was important to me to have integrity in my skill. Like, I wanted to be good. I really, like, I wanted to be the best. I want to be the best. So, if you want to be the best, like, some of that, means like you gotta be going consistently. You gotta eat well. You gotta keep your mind right. You gotta keep your body right. You gotta not be crazy. I do my best, but you can only do so much. You can only, I'm just kidding. In my life, I feel like a big part of why maybe I get frustrated with where I am is because I will dwell on the missed opportunities that I didn't get or didn't take on, maybe because I just felt like, because I had felt like I needed to wait, like, you know, I'd be like, not now, but, you know, later on, when the time is right, I'll know. When the time is right, you know. And sometimes, like, I believe that, like, when the time is right for some things, the time is right. Sometimes, you know, the opportunity comes and that's it. You gotta take it. You gotta go, you know. Or for, you know, the case of, like, you know, waiting around for something to happen, for waiting around for, oh my god, am I gonna throw up? I'm gonna keep this here. Thinking that, you know, waiting for the right moment for certain things, I feel is slightly destructive, in my opinion, sometimes. I guess, like, in my own personal life, I really feel like because of how much people told me, like, to wait on things, and that, like, the time wasn't right, and like, it was always just, like, not the right time, like, it made me develop a sense of, like, hesitation to take on new things and new opportunities. And now that's something that I really try to take on head on, try to face head on, because the last thing I want to do is regret not trying to do something because I was scared, because I was hesitating. You know, I kind of felt like that with my business. I felt like for a long time, like, I stayed at my job that I was at for as long as I did because of the fact that it was stable and the fact that I got a paycheck every week. I knew, like, I was always gonna have, like, a certain amount. I knew, like, it was equally eating me alive. It was definitely very necessary, and I learned a lot, and I gained a lot of experience and insight into not only the industry, but into the skill that I have, that I'm grateful enough to have. There were definitely a lot of moments where I definitely felt, you know, taken advantage of, and I felt further, again, that, like, it was furthering that idea for me that, you know, I wasn't ready to go off on my own, and that, you know, being in like a bigger corporation type of job, a corporate job, like, I didn't have a corporate job, oh gosh, but I worked for a corporation, you know, previously, and pretty much I just feel that working in a corporate job like that, you know, you're obviously, like, it's very common, like, you don't feel appreciated, you're never, you know, it's a lot of empty promises, and it's a lot of, like, oh, we're gonna, all this stuff that they promise you, and it never pulls through. And then, you know, just you gotta take a lot of people and deal with a lot of personalities. And I worked there, I was at that job for 2.5 years. I started in 2021. Like I said, you know, we learned a lot, we cried a lot. It was an emotional roller coaster of all the feelings. I met a lot of great people working there that I still continue to communicate to. So it's also important, you know, sometimes to, like, think about the opportunities that come our way, because you have to be able to think about it, like, long term. I think it was easy for me to visualize being there for a few years, like, for my beginner years, to gain experience, gain trust in clientele, learn how to communicate to people, develop my skill on a general sense of, I try to explain it that what I do is I try to visualize, you know, if an opportunity comes my way, I try to visualize a couple scenarios of it. So maybe, like, how does it positively, how does it negatively impact me? And then I try to think about that in a long-term sense. So with that in mind, you know, I knew working, like, long-term, like, at a corporation, like, I wasn't gonna do that. Like, I naturally think I don't think I always knew I was gonna have a business and gonna have my own business, but eventually, like, I think I always knew that I had a very good sense of, leadership, and maybe the fact, and also I know that I struggle a little bit with like being told what to do sometimes, so it kind of made sense for me to try to steer myself in a more productive path of having my own business, you know, being my own boss. Being my own boss is crazy. It's good and bad. It's good and bad. I'm learning. It's only year 1. I'm going into my 2nd year. Kind of back to what I was saying a little bit about, you know, when you have an opportunity that comes to you, or maybe like you have a decision to make, if it's possible for you, for me, it's very helpful to be able to visualize certain things, I guess, when it comes to opportunities, when it comes to thinking long term, I feel like it's easy for me to break it up into, how is this going to positively impact me? How is this going to negatively impact me? And then honestly, sometimes there is some like middle, like the middle part is kind of more of like neutral. Like, I don't want to say, like, sometimes, you know, certain things come our way and it's neither helpful or harmful. And depending on maybe where it kind of teeters more is where your decision making ultimately is with that situation. Visualizing is important, okay? I feel like I am a very visual learner. Like, I need to see it happen in front of me, and then after I watch it, there's just something about it being locked in here. And then thinking long term about, like, you know, what kind of life long term is this gonna like lead me to? Because anything you guys want to do, anything you want to do, literally anything you want to do, anything you genuinely tell yourself every day, you believe like if I'm not doing this, like I'm crazy, like then I'm gonna go crazy, then I don't know, man, it's not for you. It's not for you then, because you got to be able to tell yourself, like, even on the days that you like feel so not confident in yourself and not confident in your ability, and you want to give up, and you feel like you're gonna give up, and you feel like it's not gonna work out, and then you kind of spiral into like anxiety mode, you know. No, you can't. Like, in those moments, you do, you know, if you're able to kind of collect yourself and bring yourself into a space of understanding that these things take time, you got to think about it more long term, and that, you know, you're putting in the work now so that maybe in a year, maybe in a year, in 2 years, in 3, 5, 10 years from now, you see it all come to fruition. Sometimes it might take that long. I feel like I went a little crazy for a while, and I feel like that's something I'm relearning again, almost a little bit. But it's important to have patience with yourself and the process. We're thinking so big. If you're thinking of stuff, you want to do things that are so huge and crazy and amazing, like, you can't expect that stuff to happen like overnight. Like, what I pretty much realized is that, when you just have patience with the process, it almost like, there are times where it's like a little bit at a time, and then, but like when you're actually patient with yourself in the process, it can be a little bit at a time, but like you actually sit there and realize, like, wow, it is a little bit, but it all adds up so much. So for that, you can't give up. I don't care. Like, I'm gonna tell you this much. Like, I don't care if you wake up and you're sad and you feel you're tired. You wanna, or if you were gonna take a nap in the day, don't take like a 20-minute nap. Speed nap. Get up. Go do your thing. If you can go the day without trying to do that, maybe that's good. I get it. Sometimes we gotta sleep, but work out the sleep schedule, man. Getting your mind right. Meditate, okay? You could sit there and meditate for 10 minutes. That's very possible. I use this girl on YouTube. It's just called Guided Meditations. If you look her up, she has a lot of them. She always posts. I'm obsessed. They got me on. They're like 10-15 minutes, most of them. You could sit there in the morning or before you go to bed, in your bed already laying down, and unwind and completely relax your mind and body for a few minutes before you go to bed or when you wake up, and get your mind right for the day. You can journal, you can write. I love to write. I love to journal. I've been journaling for a couple years. I really used to struggle with trying to convey my feelings and thoughts to others. That's another part of, creating this whole situation. The things that like you wanted to tell people so bad, or tell somebody so bad, but you felt like you couldn't tell anybody. For me, like, writing was my outlet. Like, that was my person to tell. That was what I could tell. The things that I felt like I couldn't share, and the things I felt I felt like I was too embarrassed to share. And now here we are. But that stuff is important. I think people think it's really silly. I think I used to think it was a little silly, but it's a tool that I've had for a while, and it's always helped me. I think when you are open to the idea of like, of having opportunities come your way, and trying to decide, how to go about it, and then, thinking about it in a long-term sense of, all right, well, if this is what I'm going to do, like, I got to make sure, like, even if I don't want to do it, you got to show up and do it. So, you can slowly but surely get yourself into the habit of developing good habits. We hear the more you do it, the easier it's going to be for you. The long term, it's just so natural. Always invest in yourselves and invest in your craft, okay, man? Always invest in your craft. So knowing that you really do have to invest in yourself, and once you're doing that, you will be rewarded with all the things that you need. And I say need because, I kind of really believe at this point that if you really believe that, like, if you really want something, and you believe, like, I really, like, even though you're saying you want, like, I feel like if you believe so much that, like, maybe you want something, like, when you believe so deeply that you want something, that, you believe you need it. When you want something so bad, you believe you need it. And because you think you need it, you kind of start to visualize this idea of like what it would be once you kind of have that thing, or once that happens. And then I feel like because you visualize it, and because you can see it, if you can see it so clearly and so like vividly, girl, that's real. Okay? And if you can live in that mindset, you can visualize genuinely anything and everything you want to have, or to happen, or to occur. Like, your willpower is so crazy. So that's something to keep in mind for going forward, something to think about. I hope you enjoyed. We'll see how this goes. We'll see how it goes. I think this went pretty good. Definitely check out the first one that I made. Maybe Wednesday's the day that I post. That should be good. And yeah, I really hope you have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your day. I hope there was some impact on this. My gosh. I love y'all. This is already so much fun. I'm already having so much fun doing this. So, oh my God, I can't wait to do more.